So you're thinking about a new career in Florida? Something stable, something essential? Well, becoming a wastewater operator might be just the ticket. But how do you even start? In this explainer, we're going to break it all down and give you a clear roadmap to getting that license. That is the question, right? And honestly, the answer is your first step into a really fantastic career. Stick with me because by the end of this, you'll have the exact map you need to go from day one to a fully licensed pro. All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at Florida's whole licensing ladder, how it's set up. Then we'll dive into your first 3 steps. After that, a really important detail. Exam first, then experience. We'll also talk about climbing up to that top-tier Class A license. And finally, we'll cover how you keep your license active once you've got it. All right, let's jump right in. First things first, we need to understand the system itself. You know, who's in charge, and what does this whole career path actually look like? Okay, so the big name you need to know is the FDEP. That stands for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. These are the folks who run the whole show, the operator certification program. Basically, they're the ones who will issue your license, so you definitely want to be familiar with them. So Florida has this tiered system, and honestly, the best way to think about it is like a career ladder. You start at the bottom and you climb your way up. It's a really clear path, starting at Class D and going all the way up to the top, which is Class A. Now, for most people just starting out, that journey really begins with the Class C license. Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. If you're new to this field, you're going to want to pay close attention right here. We're going to focus on that Class C license, because that's the most common starting point for just about everyone. So what does it take? It really boils down to 3 main things: your education, your training, and your experience. It's that simple. You need a high school diploma or a GED. You need to complete an FDEP-approved training course. And you need to have documented work hours at a plant. All right, now listen up, because this next part is super important. It's a detail that trips up a lot of people. The order in which you do things really, really matters, but maybe not in the way you think. And this is it, the key piece of the puzzle. To even sit for the state exam, all you need is your high school diploma or GED and to have finished that approved training course. Notice what's missing: work experience. You do not need work experience to take the test. You only need those hours after you've passed the exam when you go to get the actual license issued. What does this mean for you? It means you can get way ahead of the game. You can take your course, pass that state exam, and then go look for a trainee job. Think about how much more attractive you'll be to an employer when you can walk in and say, hey, I've already passed the state exam. All right, so let's say you did it. You passed the exam, you landed that trainee job. You are officially on the ladder. So what's next? How do you actually start climbing your way to the top, to that Class A license? Okay, remember this number, 2,080. 2,080 hours, that's the magic number for your first license. Once you pass that exam, this is how many hours of on-the-job experience you need to document to get that Class C license issued. So, 2,080 hours. What does that actually look like in the real world? Well, it breaks down to about 1 full year of full-time work. So you can plan on being in a trainee role for roughly a year before you get that official Class C license in your hand. And you can see how this builds as you climb the ladder. Each step up requires you to have the license below it, plus a big jump in total work hours. It's definitely a journey of dedication. You start with that 1 year for Class C, but to get to Class B, you need a total of 3 years of experience. And for the top-tier Class A, you're looking at 5 years total. Getting that first license is a massive deal, for sure, but the journey isn't over. Let's talk about what it takes to keep your license active, and we'll also tackle a really common question: what happens if you're already licensed in another state? Okay, so keeping your license is actually pretty straightforward. It's on a 2-year cycle, and the expiration date is always April 30th of every odd-numbered year. To renew, all you have to do is complete a certain number of continuing education units, or CEUs. It's just to make sure you're staying up to date with everything in the industry. All right, this is a big one. We get this question all the time. Let's say you're an experienced operator from, I don't know, Georgia or Ohio, and you want to move to Florida. Can you just swap your license for a Florida one? And here's the answer, plain and simple: no. This is so important to know. Florida does not offer full automatic reciprocity for wastewater operators. It's not like some other jobs where you can just transfer it over.
But it's not a complete dead end. There is a potential path. If your home state's licensing rules are just as tough, or even tougher than Florida's, you might be eligible. Same goes for veterans who had comparable duties. But here's the catch. It is not automatic. You have to apply directly to the FDEP. They'll review your case and they make the final decision.
So that's the whole picture. The career ladder is clear, the steps are laid out, and the path is totally doable. That whole big journey really does begin with one single informed step. And now you know exactly what that step is. Getting into an approved course and getting ready for that exam. Okay, you've got the map. You have the complete guide for building a career as a wastewater operator in Florida. The road from your very first course all the way to a Class A license is right there in front of you. So the only real question left is, what's your first step going to be?